Britannia Royal Naval College.
When you see the building the first time, it's quite overwhelming.
The United Kingdom's sole dedicated officer training establishment for Royal Navy officers.
Massive butterflies. It's just that sort of feeling of, oh my God, I'm here.
It's been providing world-class Royal Navy officer training since 1905.
It's quite a proud moment to think that you're going to become part of that.
Former cadets include royal family members.
Jumping off the coach, and you can sort of imagine 40 years ago, His Royal Highness Prince of Wales doing the same thing.
Nowadays, it trains officer cadets from more than 20 navies all over the world.
It was your decision to be here. If you don't like it, you know where the main gate is.
With unprecedented access, our cameras follow an intake of aspiring officers throughout the punishing 28-week training course.
Now, the training is going to be hard. I'm glad we're testing you in this way, because we need to be sure that you've got what it takes to lead men and women in battle.
Most have absolutely no previous naval experience.
What's up with you, sweetheart? Knees up!
The first couple of days, I was thinking an awful lot, why am I here? What am I doing to myself?
Fire, fire, fire! Fire in one foot,
We follow their journey from Civvy Street to military leadership in the world's most prestigious navy. Many will lose their battle.
Some of you will fail. Failure is good. It's healthy. It's a reward for those that remain.
But those who succeed will follow in the footsteps of generations of courageous British naval heroes.
You kind of think, if I can just get through this, I can get through that door and get on with my career.
Naval officers, carry on!
Whale Island in Portsmouth, home to HMS Excellent, where the Royal Navy trains its personnel for life at sea. It's week 9 of the Officer Cadets 28-week training course at Dartmouth, the Royal Navy's Officer Training College.
Get them on your heads, adjust them so they're comfortable and not too tight.
The cadets are here to begin their Marinisation training. Most of those on BISC, the week-long Basic Sea Survival course, have absolutely no prior naval experience. In their second term, the cadets will spend 10 weeks at sea in an operational Royal Navy ship. This week is all about arming them with the basic safety skills they'll need to fully integrate into life on board ship.
Stand up.
First, they're taught how to safely extinguish an onboard fire.
As you can see, very dangerous if you're standing in that compartment, okay, and you just come along without any orders and you just shove that on.
Your team that are in there with that hose, they're now at the very least got broken limbs. Worst case scenario, it's going to kill somebody.
The training takes place in this state-of-the-art facility. Gas-powered fires as hot as 300 degrees and smoke machines add to the realism. After 3 days firefighting training, the cadets are expected to extinguish a major blaze, like the one in this engine room mock-up. It's a far cry from when O.C. Foster first trained as an officer a generation ago.
The firefighting has changed a bit, health and safety has got hold of it, and they used to have real fires and real smoke. It's not quite as realistic anymore, but even so, it's still a lot of fun.
Our objective for the day is stopping the water coming in using wedges and bungs. We'll put all of that into practice on the Drew. We'll walk you through all of it first. Thank you.
The cadets also receive training in how to deal with another potentially life-threatening danger, an onboard flood.
Make sure that it doesn't need someone behind you supporting you, so consider that they're behind holding you where you swing your hammer. The last thing they need is a big over-the-shoulder blow, okay, so make sure from the shoulder only.
After the lesson, the cadets test their new skills in the Drew. It may look like a theme park attraction, but the 3-storey damage repair instructional unit is a cutting-edge piece of kit that simulates the chaos and real danger of being on a sinking ship.
Loved how they had the intercom system. They made it realistic, talking about an incoming aircraft, incoming missiles. At the time I didn't realise they were going to turn the water off, so I was generally quite panicked when we ran out of wedges and hadn't finished blocking up the holes, because I thought, well, we've failed our mission basically, we have to escape.
You do kind of, in the back of your mind, you are aware that if that was happening for real, it would be terrifying. But because it's an exercise, generally it is quite good fun.
On their fourth day, the cadets have been issued with respirators.
Gas, gas, gas! 2, 3, 4, 5...
In the event of an enemy chemical attack, it's vital the cadets know how to put their respirators on quickly and correctly. Their next exercise will test how well they've absorbed their training.
What we're going to do first, we'll do a face seal check and a dress check, then we'll carry out a safety brief, then get you into the chamber to carry out your drills and skills. Everybody happy? Deep breath. Deep breath.
When the instructor releases CS gas into the chamber, the cadets have to recite the poem pinned to the wall whilst jogging on the spot. They'll be painfully aware if their masks aren't completely airtight. All the cadets come through the 10-minute test unscathed. Finally, the cadets need to be prepared to deal with the ultimate worst-case scenario at sea, abandoning ship. The last part of their training teaches them how to survive such a disaster.
2, 1, go!
You do have in the back of your mind, you are going to be on a ship, and if that happened for real, it would be awful, it would be just so terrifying. That kind of training is important, because that could happen to you for real.
After a week of intense sea survival training, all the cadets sail through the course. Next stop, testing their new skills back at Dartmouth. A couple of days after returning from HMS Excellent, the cadets are assembling for a hugely poignant event. It's Remembrance Sunday, and apart from honouring Britain's war dead, it's a precious opportunity for the college to cement its long-standing bonds with the local community.
We got a particularly strong relationship with the community. It was once described to me as that the town is another arm of the training team here. They will report back on bad behaviour, but they'll also give positive feedback about how the cadets are acting when they're ashore.
We pray this morning for those who bear arms on behalf of the nation. We pray for our enemies and those who wish us harm. We pray for the wounded and the captive, the grieving and the homeless.
In a few weeks, the cadets will finally serve in a real Royal Navy warship.
I don't think I've ever been on anything quite as gigantic as Bulwark, so it was quite intimidating.
But they still won't be able to escape the constant threat of being thrown off the course.
If they're not safe to be on board the ship, then really we can't take them to sea.
Oh my God, we passed! We passed!
After learning the theory at HMS Excellent, it's time for the cadets to put their sea survival skills into practice on Dartmouth's dedicated training ship.
This week they're on exercise Fast Cruise. That's a 2-day exercise where they live on board the Hindustan. And this is preparation for next term. BISC teaches them the mechanics of how to put out fires, how to deal with floods, etc. Fast Cruise is taking that knowledge and applying it to a ship environment. So not only are they now doing the mechanics, but they're also commanding and controlling the incident as well.
The cadets will complete 2 fire exercises, one of which involves them being woken up in the middle of the night.
Smoke alarm, smoke alarm, smoke alarm. Attack party to investigate. Get into the shed! That's it, you get into the shed!
You're going to make this a smoke around your field. You do not direct it towards the fire. So all you're going to do is once you break it up and then start some smaller satellite fires.
The next morning, the cadets assemble to find out how they performed.
You gathered your thoughts quickly. Good to see someone started fighting the fire, okay, and a good supply of extinguishers.
The Fast Cruise exercise also sees the cadets perform a man overboard drill.
What I want you to do now is you go close to the edge, look at the window over there. You step off, yeah, feet crossed.
Belgium-born patriot O.C. de la Rue has been volunteered to rescue the unfortunate dummy.
Carry on the swimmer, when you're happy, just step off.
The BISC and Fast Cruise exercises are fun, yet the cadets appreciate their importance to initial fleet time. They're 10 weeks in a Royal Navy warship, which is just around the corner.
Without doing BISC and Fast Cruise, you wouldn't get as much from IFT, and it'd be an even steeper learning curve. I think you'd end up getting in the way of the ship's company rather than being a hindrance, whereas now I feel we can go on there and actually play a part.
Just before the cadets finish on Fast Cruise, they're reminded of what they should be taking away from it.
That'd be the lighting, the smells, the kind of noises that the ship makes when you're living on board, the kind of routine that you have to adopt in your short period on board here, which is entirely different to living up at the top of the college. I hope you've enjoyed it. You've definitely improved.
It's been 4 weeks since the cadets completed Fast Cruise. Dartmouth, the Royal Navy's Officer Training College, is gearing up for Christmas. Most of the cadets have reached the halfway point of their training, but the successful medical officer cadets graduate tomorrow. O.C. Foster, the oldest officer cadet in the entire intake, will have the rare distinction of becoming a Royal Naval officer for the 2nd time.
I mean, it's not often you get to do this at all. Mine's the 2nd time, so yeah, no, really looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing the family.
But he's concerned about not looking the part tomorrow.
This is my father's sword, which he passed out with in 1954, I think. I passed out with in 1986, and now obviously I'm hoping to pass out with it again tomorrow. But the trouble is, it's not worn particularly well, so I'm going to be spending a lot of this evening cleaning it, I suspect.
College, cadets and the medics' loved ones are gearing up for the graduation ceremony. O.C. Foster's proud family watch him graduate, he recalls his fondest memory during training.
The people, undoubtedly. Luckily, they could have sort of thought it was a bit odd that some old man was coming to join the Navy, but they've been fantastic. Officially, as you pass through the doors, that's when you become a commissioned officer. I've just passed out of Dartmouth for the second time, 25 and nearly 26 years after I did the first time, so it's been a great day, really enjoyed it.
It's week 15 of 28, and our remaining cadets are kicking off the second term of their training. Today is the start of a brand new adventure.
We're on our way to Plymouth at the moment to join HMS Bulwark for 10 weeks of initial fleet time.
We'll spend time in every single department, learning how the ship works and how the people on board live in all the departments.
HMS Bulwark, the Royal Navy's flagship, will be the cadets' home throughout initial fleet time training. She's a formidable warship.
She's got two main roles. One is the delivery of Royal Marines and our amphibious capability, and the other is the command and control of two separate task groups. I describe her as the nation's Swiss Army knife. She's extremely versatile and utterly indispensable.
At 176 metres long and with a top speed of 18 knots, the 20,000-ton ship is tailored to bolster Britain's attack capability. Her 64-metre flight deck can land attack helicopters.
I don't think I've ever been on anything quite as gigantic as Bulwark, so it's quite intimidating. And to see all the proper sailors and stuff was also a bit intimidating because obviously we've never done anything like this before.
In addition to HMS Bulwark's 325-strong crew, she can accommodate around 400 Royal Marines, their weapons, and up to 70 of their support vehicles, and drop them in enemy territory using her 8 landing craft.
I knew there was going to be a big challenge. Not so much getting to know the ship's company and the departments, it's actually finding your way around the ship.
She has been deployed on anti-terrorist and counter-piracy operations in the Gulf, and in one day in 2006, she helped evacuate 1,300 British citizens out of war-torn Lebanon. After finding their accommodation, the officer cadets muster for a briefing. It's a big week for them, and they're nervous.
Those that have been on board the ship before, this week will be your induction week. It is the week that you will get around the ship, you will find out what is going on, you will do that first section of your task book.
As soon as they join the ship, we tell them that they need to be proactive. If they're not proactive, they're not finding out what's going on. If you can't go and ask somebody a question, then I don't see in the future that you're going to make it as an officer.
I do feedback on each of you, so I'll get to know who you are, how you work, or how you don't work. I do the feedback. So I'll say on that one.
If they're not safe to be on board the ship, then really we can't take them to sea. So we do a full week of an introduction, safety, board. And on the Thursday/Friday, we'll do a oral 1 hour, one-to-one, to ensure that they are safe to be on board this ship.
At the end of their induction week, the cadets will be tested on everything from where firefighting equipment is stowed to where the captain lives. So one of their first tasks is to master the layout of this huge ship.
You guys up for that? Yeah. We were asking a couple of basic questions, then he ends up giving us a full tour of the engine room, so they're really proactive and keen to show us what's what, and that's really helpful for us.
That was a really good tour. Saw some diesel generators and main diesel engine. It was really friendly, very helpful. Gives a lot of information for our task books, and obviously some of the tests we have to pass.
It's like a massive maze to kind of go play around in.
But the youngest cadet also has other things on his mind.
It was lovely to see my family, and mainly my girlfriend, to be honest. She's gone back to uni, but it's good. We're good. Dartmouth Term 1 was almost like a run-up to this. When we go to sea, it'll just be interesting to see how, like, the communication and stuff and how both of us find it. But I'm pretty determined to stick at it, and so she's, so I'm happy.
Tomorrow, the cadets face a 50-minute oral safety test. Only those who pass it will sail with the ship when she leaves Devonport. But their revision for this make-or-break test has to take a temporary back seat to the needs of the ship's company.
It's basically to make sure that we're safe, but also that we wouldn't put any of the ship's company in danger should we respond to an incident in a particular manner.
When we're on board ship and we set sail off to the sea, obviously there is nobody else there to help. So everybody on board ship has to know the basic safety procedures and what to do in case of an emergency and everything like that, really, because you can't rely on other people.
Attention on the upper deck. Face out and salute sunset.
The oral safety tests are one-to-ones. The pass mark is a taxing 80%.
Okay, basic ship safety. This is all on this next section. What is the purpose of a loud vocal alarm?
A loud vocal alarm indicates to the ship's company that there's a problem, depending on whatever you shout. Gives a location of the compartment, and you keep on sounding the alarm until you hear it over the main broadcast. It's really good, actually. Some of the questions were like, wow, so why are they asking this sort of thing? But probably 95% of the questions were definitely, definitely a big part of ship's knowledge on board and ship safety, definitely.
Right, question 5. What is Operation Thimble Hunt?
To search for a person who's not accounted for. I think I passed. Some parts were quite tricky, especially like when you have to get the exact places, because it's not like down the street and left, it's kind of like a set of numbers and letters, and it just gets a bit confusing after a while.
I haven't found out the results yet, but hopefully we'll have gone fine. There are a few bits I got stuck with, but it was mainly details. It was okay. It was, and plus I learned more as well.
I know you're all wanting to know your results. I shall send them up directly.
The next day is Oral Safety Board Results Day. The stakes are high. Anyone who gets less than 80% will be deemed unsafe to sail with the ship.
Yeah, one last thing as well.
They've all passed, which is obviously very good. We do get in the past people that have failed, so it's not unusual.
Oh my God, we passed!
Up next, HMS Bulwark sets sail for foreign waters on a journey that will introduce the cadets to life at sea.
Starboard morning, not starting.
In a way, it kind of does seem surreal. I've now met the first Sea Lord, and the previous day I was scrubbing toilets.
I'm having a great time. I think this is one of the best aspects of the Navy, going to different countries, seeing the world, or at least the inside of a bar.
The officer cadets have now been on board HMS Bulwark for 6 weeks. The ship has docked in Gdynia, which sits on the south coast of the Baltic Sea in northern Poland. They're greeted by some of the locals who have turned up for a tour of the ship.
It's nice that the ship is so popular. Most people are so interested in the ship. It's nice to be able to help people see it.
One unique guy tried to come on as a pirate. I confiscated an ornamental knife, a saber, and like a fake pistol kind of thing off of him.
For the lucky cadets, shore leave offers a chance to see the lighter side of life in the Navy.
So I'm having a great time. I think this is one of the best aspects of the Navy, is going to different countries, seeing the world, or at least the inside of a bar in those countries. Experience a bit of different culture, at least a few different foreign beers, and I feel a really good time.
saw as many of the sites as I could. Went to a few other towns around the local area. Lots of meals, a few drinks with friends. It was hard play, and now back at hard work. But hard play's just around the corner again. So.
Before they complete their training in the ship, the cadets will spend a week in every department to get an overview of how she functions.
This week I'm working with the Weapons Engineering Department, and that covers communications, the computer systems on board and weapons. For the last few days, we've been getting an overview of what it is they do and also doing little jobs for them.
Great.
The cadets may be learning, but they're also spare hands. And with a special guest expected tomorrow, it's literally all hands on deck.
It's the first Sea Lord coming to visit, so everything has to be spanking clean.
Well, this will be clean for the next couple of weeks.
It has to be clean, so we clean it.
This past week was logistics, so it's a lot of time in the galley. They were very hard, and they have to provide 3 meals a day to everyone. So it's interesting to see how they tackle it right from the menu to actually producing all the food, right to getting that out on the plates.
The First Sea Lord is head of the Royal Navy. He makes it his business to get out and visit his staff. The cadets are no exception.
Just relax and I'll just chat for about 3 minutes, or probably a little longer than that, on aspects of my in-tray, really, which is, I hope, of interest to you.
In a way, it kind of does seem surreal sometimes, what we do here. You know, I've now met the First Sea Lord of the Royal Navy, and the previous day I was scrubbing toilets, but, you know, in no other job would you have these contrasts, probably.
A part of the First Sea Lord's remit is to gauge his sailors' opinions. O.C. Eglinton, who started out in the ranks, airs a widely held concern about the future of Royal Navy training.
What do you think about the mixing between Royal Navy officers and Royal Navy cadets in HMS Raleigh?
What do I think about it?
Yes.
I think it's a damn good idea.
Yeah.
I'm bound to say that because I'm the chairman of the Navy
definitely,
Board.
exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Why should we train officers over here, ratings over here, and then crash them together on board warships for the very first time?
Okay.
Are you anti?
I am, so yes, I am. Yeah.
Why?
Okay. I just believe that, for instance, if a rating officer was to see something, I don't know, something wrong that an officer had possibly done, and in the future then they became senior and superior, etc. How would that really affect in the chain of command, realistically?
I gave him a few points to it. Definitely, I think that he took away maybe on why some of the ship's company and some of the other ratings don't think it's going to work.
When HMS Bulwark sets sail, the cadets' training programme gets back into full swing.
Welcome to the initial brief for steering gear breakdown drills. This is the last set of drills we're going to do to PE the CBR NDCR.
Today, Officer Cadets De La Rue and Robinson are taking part in an exercise to test the manual backup system for steering the ship. The exercise takes OC De La Rue 10 decks down into the bowels of the ship, whilst OC Robinson stays on the bridge.
Starboard motor not starting.
Steering gear breakdown, steering gear breakdown, steering gear breakdown. Steering gear breakdown is loss on steering from the bridge. Onwards, ECME, close up the tiller flap.
We have to be able to deal with any kind of eventuality, and that includes machinery breakdown. So being able to follow the marine engineers into the tiller flat and see the work they do in that event is very useful.
Steer by hand pump steering.
Steer by hand pump steering.
Hello. Shut down, forward main, DG.
Driving the flagship, the Royal Navy, was a bit of a different experience. Usually I'm used to a Seat Leon when I'm allowed to drive by the girlfriend. But yeah, they let me have the wheel of the ship for a few minutes. And yeah, it was an interesting experience, a lot different. No pedals for a start.
Flying with the radar range.
As HMS Bulwark arrives in Copenhagen, almost immediately the crew begins preparing her to host the naval equivalent of a cocktail party for local dignitaries tonight.
Good to meet you. Hello there, Alex Burke. Welcome to HMS Bulwark. Hi. Alex Burke. Hi, I'm HMS Bulwark.
The cadets are involved in a bit of everything, from hanging up coats to serving nibbles and drinks and schmoozing with the guests.
I stand as a relatively small man on the shoulders of giants, and those giants have hosted you this evening, and those giants have showed you quite how impressive and spectacular the Royal Navy is.
Thank you very much.
As initial fleet time draws to a close, testing times lie ahead for the cadets.
Going to start your exam in a minute. 2.5 hours.
Maybe should have revised a bit more for that one.
But not even those who pass both their oral and written exams are guaranteed a spot on the final part of training.
If you answer everything, they'll make them harder.
It is possible to pass both elements and not pass the whole experience.
As the sun sets on another day, HMS Bulwark is back at sea after leaving Copenhagen. Below decks, the officer cadets live and work alongside the junior ranks. But some also get to shadow senior officers. Today, OC Kitson is spending time with the captain.
Summary punishment.
Is that the finalisation of a case?
So a serious case. What's the difference between when it goes to the CO for summary punishment?
So a serious case, is that when it's also a criminal offence? And would a less serious could be dealt with by MAA?
A summary punishment is one that doesn't have to go to court-martial.
OC Butterworth is following the executive officer, the ship's number 2. He's also nursing a recently broken heart.
I was pretty low when my girlfriend broke up with me. I kind of went off the ship and just sat down by this lamppost just by myself, just in the dark. And without knowing it, the rest of the IT thought I'd run off and like fallen into the water or everything, so it caused a bit of a hoo-ha. I've been a bit confused and a bit like lost, first broken heart and all that.
Another weekend, another port visit. This time it's Oslo, Norway. The cadets are nearing the end of their 10 weeks of initial fleet time. Most are revising for the big written exam they sit tomorrow and the crucial oral test that will follow in the days after.
Follow the Russian!
For some of the OCs, revision has been put on hold.
It's been great. Absolutely brilliant time. Done some skiing in Oslo. Probably one of the best days of IFT. Generally had a great time with my friends.
Going to start your exam in a minute. 2.5 hours for
More than 2 months after they first joined HMS Bulwark, the cadets faced the first of 2 days of reckoning. Today's written exam will have a major bearing on the future of their training.
The written exam will look at their level of knowledge of different departments. If they don't have that level of knowledge, then they will be severely disadvantaged in the next phase of their career. So they need to have that base level in order to be able to operate effectively on a ship. So it is important.
They don't want you to have a depth of knowledge, but a breadth of knowledge. So they want you to know a little bit about the whole department. So there's just ridiculous amounts of stuff that you have to learn.
Maybe should have revised a bit more for that one. I was definitely caught out by a few of the questions. There's a lot of things that I know now, but at the time just couldn't remember. Or like the abbreviations and things, the acronyms.
I know I got MMBD wrong, which is Main Machinery Breakdown Drill, something like that. Yeah, the Navy love to put things into little letters, and that's probably the hardest thing to learn.
Oxford graduate O.C. Lvov Bazarov passed the retake of his Rules of the Road test, but struggled on his written board.
The written board went terribly. The written board just happened to have quite a few questions I didn't know the answers to on, and some that I blanked on at the time and knew as soon as I left the room, and others that I didn't understand. It sometimes happens with written exams.
With the written exam out of the way, HMS Bulwark set sail for the Arctic Circle. Meanwhile, the cadets faced the most important part of their academic ordeal, the vitally important oral exam.
The oral board is basically our task books, but in a lot more depth. So it shows whether we've got out and about and actually spoken to the ship's company. So it's a series of questions by one of the senior officers. They ask questions and then we have to give answers more in depth than the exam.
Okay, moving on to the next question then. The gangway gets closed and you hear a pipe from the second officer of the day saying that the compulsory drug testing team are on board. What's going to happen next, and what do you need to go about doing as the officer of the day?
The Navy has a zero tolerance policy towards drugs, and should anyone be caught, then they will be dismissed, service is no longer required.
Oral board went pretty well, I think. Answered most of the questions. Some of them were a bit more in depth the more that the officer probed. Some of my knowledge was a bit shady, but in general, yeah, it went pretty well.
Okay, briefly describe to me the occasions, both routine and special, when you would call on your commanding officer when you're officer of the day.
So the officer of the day would speak to the captain in the morning.
Yeah. Whenabouts?
Just after colours, I think. So.
Just before colours?
Just before colours.
The oral board seemed to go fine. I think it's quite hard to judge with the oral board because they will always try to find questions you know the answers to and ones you don't, to sort of judge your level of knowledge. If you can't answer anything, they'll start asking easier ones. If you answer everything, they'll make them harder.
As the cadets anxiously wait for the results of their exams, the weather takes a turn for the worse.
This has been the worst sea state we've had. I've quite enjoyed it, to be honest with you. I've been okay, other people have been looking a bit green. We've been out on the wastes in the smoking area and had a good look at what was going on. And we have been asked to do ship roll.
Back on calm waters, the cadets are getting their exam results.
Okay, we've tried to keep it fair by letting you all get the results at the same time. So we've got results here for both the written papers and for the oral boards.
If you pass those sections, it doesn't automatically mean you passed all of IT. Ladies and gentlemen, results from the board.
What lost?
I did okay. I passed both sections, so I'm pleased to have done that. I wouldn't have wanted to reset elements. I thought it was easier to sacrifice a little bit of time now when you're sort of stuck on a ship and have it pay off in passing exams that'll help your career.
Was that on was the oral up there? It's horrible to see people who you know have worked hard, you've worked hard with them, and just to see your mates gutted, like, you just feel bad for them.
OC Suttle has failed the oral test and therefore failed initial fleet time. The cadet assessment group back at Dartmouth will now decide her fate.
There are three possibilities. They can either decide that you failed because you're not officer material, and they could ask you to leave. There's also, they could ask you to go round again if they feel like doing IFT again would benefit you. Or they could send you forward on risk and continue on, but on a sort of warning system, so you'd have to do well for the rest of the term. I think the best outcome would be to be continued on.
OC Lvov-Bazarov and OC Butterworth also failed IFT. Their respective futures in the Navy also hang in the balance. HMS Bulwark has anchored at Harstad in northern Norway, more than 100 miles inside the Arctic Circle. The cadets will shortly be leaving the ship and returning to Dartmouth. But not before they've hosted a tea party for the captain and the ship's company to thank them for helping with their training.
I remember on the first day thinking, I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to find my way back onto the jetty, let alone my way around the ship. And when I look back now, I have learnt loads.
A lot of theory from Dartmouth suddenly becomes applicable in this completely unknown environment. It's interesting to see how all the different people worked, from the highest levels of command down to the newest recruits.
This has given me a wider appreciation for what other departments do, not just generalising in engineering as before. So it has been worthwhile.
I've been mega impressed by what we can do as a Navy. The parts I enjoyed most were doing bridge watches and watches in the ops room. That's where I learnt the most.
I hope over the last 10 weeks we've given you some fun. I'm sure over the last 10 weeks we've given you some challenges and some sleepless nights and some miserable elements of life as well. But most important of all, I hope that you've experienced life as a junior rate and you've gained experiences that you will be able to take forward in the journey that is the rest of your naval career.
One of the things that has hugely impressed me about the junior officers that I've seen on this occasion is the quality and the professionalism and the intelligence and the drive and commitment that the young officers are showing.
As HMS Bulwark continues on her mission, the cadets end their 10-week adventure and return to where it all started. The cadets are back at Dartmouth. The Cadet Assessment Group has met to decide what happens to those who failed IFT. There's welcome news for OCs Butterworth and Suttle. They've been passed on risk to go on to the final stage of training. But for OC Lvov-Bazarov, the news is not so good. He has been back-phased and will have to do IFT again.
By the time I was told that I was being back-turned, I worked out that that was likely to happen. So it wasn't too much of a shock. I think the two main specific high points that stand out are finishing Able and then getting the result of Able. Able's the main landmark that I've done so far successfully, and it was so unpleasant that finishing it was very much appreciated. I hope that I will stay in touch with Ambush well beyond their passing out. I think I've made some very good friends there. And, look forward to joining them in the fleet.
The cadets will soon complete the final part of their training on the River Dart. Only those who pass it will graduate. But not everyone will overcome the extreme pressure. Coming up in part 4.
What are you going to do? Hit me with your hand there, come on!
We thought that it wouldn't get that physical, and then it did.
If you've been sleeping at the back, stand by. You're going to find it a real world of pain tomorrow.
This is going to be painful, it's going to be uncomfortable, and you better start working after it.